Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to welcome you all for our live panel this morning, evening, afternoon, whoever you are, wherever you are. We're going to have a great discussion with Jared Finkom and Hemal from Empire Gaming. Thank you very much, guys, for joining this live panel and then for the opportunity to share your thoughts on on fraud in the area of digital games. Clearly, the title for the webinar for the live panel is how can we reach better approval rates in an area where it's so fraudster attractive. So we'll start with the introductions. Jared, why won't you go first? Hemal, you go then, and I'll kind of close the loop on that.
Good deal. So hi, everybody. My name is Jared Price with Incom Payments, fraud director of our digital and e-commerce fraud prevention teams. So I've been in the fraud prevention industry, specifically fighting the good fight for it's been about 10 years now. Started back in just after 2010, working here at Incom and focusing predominantly on prepaid cards, gift cards, and shifting my focus from a professional standpoint towards the digital side of the house. Around 2013, 2014, when we really started seeing the advantages of better tracking and better monitoring on the online activities of the anonymous customer base, especially not to necessarily identify people, but just to be able to identify bad actors and really kind of taking advantage and leaning on those digital and cyber markers. So,
my name is Hemal, and I'm the managing director of Empire Digital Group. So we create innovative digital platforms for the sale of video games and software. We have several platforms, and one of which is egaming.com.
Thanks, Hemal. And I'm Alex Zeltzer. I'm CEO of Ensure. I got 3 boys and a dog. It's a handful. Even though they're pretty self-sustainable at this point, all of them, including the dog, still a handful. I've been, as you mentioned, Jared, I've been fighting the good fight for a while, both at Ensure and at the previous company at Zeek, where we, that's a gift card marketplace where we've encountered fraud at a scale that I prefer to forget. And as a result, kind of ended up founding Ensure, trying to help merchants similar to Zeek at the time to fight the fight there. So let's just dive in and start with trying to to figure out the key areas that we really wanted to discuss here. So the domain of digital goods is very different than standard brick and mortar. I think we are all aware of that. I assume that everyone on the webinar is aware of the main difference where the liabilities lies with the merchant, unlike with brick and mortar. But even more so for digital goods, the fraud pressure, because of different reasons, including the time frame it takes to deliver products, including the fact that these products are normally resellable online, create a significant challenge for merchants that attempt to sell these online, normally leading them to create some kind of a balance between friction for all of their customers, including the legitimate ones, of course, and a fraud rate or a chargeback rate that is lying very heavily on their business. And normally, we all cope with this problem. I'm sure you guys have had the same experience. Jared, why won't you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah, sure. So we've offered digital gift cards online for quite some time now. We've kind of gone back and forth over the years with selling directly or with working with our merchant partners to sell through them. And I think a lot of people, before they get into the digital goods space, they don't really understand the impact that it has when you remove that physical nexus from an order. In theory, all orders online have a billing address. All orders online have, that concept of a physical nexus. But the truth of the matter is, especially as technologies continue to develop, VPNs have become more popular, especially amongst legitimate consumers, which makes everything that much more difficult as people get more privacy conscious. They start turning off the ability of companies to even know the details of who they are. definitely makes our job more challenging. And then when you remove the knowledge of where the product's actually going, right? That's what really heightens that difficulty with the digital goods. With the physical good, I know that it's going to this street address that, assuming that the delivery guy actually gets it there, that it's going to this street address, and that there's some, if it is a fraudster, they have to be in some range of that area to pick it up, or have a mule that does it for them, right? With the digital good, all bets are off. You're sending stuff to an email address, you're sending stuff to an online account that, there's a much deeper layer of trust that has to be built into that process. And a lot of it is not within the company's control. So for instance, when we send a digital gift card to, an email address, we're trusting that email provider, it has decent enough security that the person's email who's receiving it is actually under control of that person. And oftentimes with fraud, that's not the case. And so that definitely makes it far more difficult to trust an order, and to trust a buyer, and to trust a recipient at the same time.
Thanks, Jared, for sharing. And Hemal, would you take a crack at that?
Yes, sure. So we've had quite a lot of issues when it comes to fraud, because we primarily sell video games online, and we've seen times when we've actually lost our entire stock just by fraud purchases, and it's really annoying. And then after that purchase, we see emails from the payment merchants such as Stripe or PayPal saying that there's been a chargeback case against you, and we know that once we get that, then it's very unlikely that we're going to be winning that case, because there's no physical address or tracking number to send to these merchants, because they generally favor physical product shipping instead of digital products. So a company would generally be happy when they see an increase in sale overnight of like 100%. But when we see that kind of a pattern on our website, then we can get concerned, and it's not expected. And then we dig deeper, and then we see all these emails being used, random emails, and we're like, oh no, now what? We've lost our stock now. So so we have to introduce our own steps to fight these, and that's what we've been doing.
Yeah, this is I sympathize. I can still remember the nights when you kind of look through and realize that the 20% bump you've seen, or even more than that, is unfortunately is all fraudulent, and you're gonna lose all of it. It's devastating for a business. No question about that. So going back to the to the differences, I think between physical and digital, I think one of the key differences really is the immediate loss of value. One of the things that we at Ensure see as a primary objective for the technology we build, and for the type of patterns we look at, is the fact that once you ship a digital product, the value is lost immediately. Especially when fraudsters use high scale schemes where there are machines on both ends of the process, both on the ones that are trying to buy inventory, and both on the other side where they try to resell the value on different marketplaces. The time of value loss could be seconds, which is very different, obviously, from physical goods. I know, Jared, that you guys at Incom sell both physical and digital gift cards online, and could you share a little bit about the differences you see, and the different patterns, and the different maybe levels of fraud pressure?
Yeah, sure. So, and I think, you hit the nail on the head there, right, with the machines on both ends. And the scalability of digital products is significantly superior to the scalability of fraud on physical products. And that kind of goes without, there's really not much argument against that, right? I think everyone around the world would probably agree with that to a large extent. The main difference for us really does come down to those recovery rates. So even if you order something, overnight shipping, for instance, on one of our sites, say, then you're going to get that product as a fraudster the next day, right? So that gives my team at least 12 hours from the absolute quickest shipment point to the delivery at your doorstep as a fraudster. We've got at least 12 hours to recognize that, and to figure that out, and to shut those cards down. And that's a big advantage we have in gift cards as well, is unlike a lot of merchants who have to get in touch with the delivery company and call that actual product back, we really don't need to get the product back. We have digital access even to our physical products, and we can snap the money right off of there in a heartbeat and pull it back. And the fraudsters know that. So even when they get the product within 12 hours, that quickly, they've still got to go spend that money, whether it's online, whether it's in a store, whatever they're going to do with that product, they've got to go do something to spend that money, and that's not necessarily machinable. When you start talking digital cards, that's where the name of the game changes, right? So all of a sudden, you've got instant delivery, instant fulfillment. It's in the fraudster's inbox immediately. They can go straight from there, hit the cardholder website, scrub the information off of there, get the card number, and they can just have a bot running this stuff, end to end. When it comes to our actual first card parties, to our Visas and our MasterCards and such, we have a lot of things that we can use to kind of lock that and restrict that scalability down the back end. But when you start talking third-party cards where we become more like other merchants, we don't have direct access to that information. We don't have control over the path of redemption. It's not our card at the end of the day. That's where things really can get sticky, because we're relying on other partners to do the needful, if you will. And oftentimes that money is, as soon as that, like I said, as soon as it's sold, it's gone. So.
Yeah, and can you share a little bit about the fraud pressure, the difference in fraud pressure you're seeing on both ends? Is it because clearly you can defraud both angles. There's no question on that. But are you feeling a bigger fraud pressure on the digital side?
So I would say digital is more of a day-to-day thing. So physical definitely has its fraud pressure, and it's definitely not. It's not easy by any stretch. I think a lot of times the biggest danger of physical cards is getting lulled into a false sense of security. The fraudsters typically take schemes that take longer to develop and take longer to discover, and they also have bigger paydays. It's very rare that we get hit on the physical side for $500, whereas on the digital side, it's very common that we get hit for sub $500. They'll run a bunch of 50s, a bunch of hundreds, a bunch of whatever, and they run it in a more machinable, a more high intensity, high velocity mentality, versus the physical side, where usually there's some sort of identity theft looped into the process. There's some sort of scam going on where the victim knows what's going on but doesn't know what's going on. And like I said, the payouts typically hit 5 digits pretty quick. So.
Yeah, it's amazing, the creativity in this world. Amazing. And Eman, I know that you guys had similar experiences. Would you care to share about that a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So with our products, once it's exposed to the customer or fraudster, it's gone forever. So we cannot recover any of that product back. So for us, it's crucial to introduce that defensive step before we send the product key or the product to the customer. So we used to have a few different strategies. One of them was we used to divide the products that we have, the games that we have, into high risk, low risk games. And because we observed a pattern, and we knew that which game was highly desirable for the fraudsters. So we used to set certain defensive barriers for purchasing those games. But then we noticed that having these barriers, for example, manually verifying the orders after purchase, and also limiting the payment merchant that they can use at checkout to certain providers only, had its own negative impact, which was the customer wouldn't get the product straight away after purchase, or they can't pay using their desired payment method. So that would ultimately lead to reduced satisfaction for our customers, and that's not the route that we would really want to go. So this is why it's quite important for us to have something that would take care of this procedure, an automated system, artificial intelligence, machine learning, something that can help us out tackling this kind of an issue that we have, which gets bigger and bigger day by day. So yeah, so we've had our own issues.
Yeah, it's amazing, Hemal. It's like what questions I'm going to ask next.
Oh, okay.
I think it's a great segue. I think that one of the as I assume the participants on the webinar on the live panel know, we have had a chat before we started the live panel, so we've had the opportunity to discuss this a little bit amongst ourselves. And really, I think one of the areas that we found that is very much of interest, and I think is problematic, as you mentioned, the issue of the friction that you the friction that inevitably added to the customer journey of legitimate customers, etc., is primarily based on rule-based or on all sorts of mechanisms that try to identify fraudsters in a simple manner, which we all know is eventually doesn't really do the trick. It's especially not in this level of digital goods and where the fraud pressure is so high. Beyond that, as you've both mentioned, I think we've seen beyond the fact of just declining legitimate customers, we see a lot of orders go into a manual review process where obviously the immediacy of delivery is being impacted, the customer experience is being impacted, and clearly we all want to avoid that. That's a primary objective. And we've had, I think, a pretty interesting discussion earlier about how you guys believe that AI and machine learning can really help in that domain, especially as it becomes more common practice in these days and is more applicable. So would you like to share a little bit about that from your experience and your expectations, Jared?
Yeah. So manual reviews are definitely, I guess let's actually touch on the heuristic piece first, right? Because that's the name of the game 10, 15 years ago, right? Is A/B logic and if-thens, and I think there's always going to be some room for that in the industry, right? So I think there's definitely some I guess we'll call them anti-AI people who think that from a professional sense that AI will never be able to take over fraud. And I don't necessarily disagree with everything that sect of the industry, believes. I personally take more of a hybrid approach to it. I think there's always going to be room for some heuristic, some level of heuristic. The simple fact of the matter, some of it's just easy, right? If CVV doesn't match, then I'm sorry, like hop on out of here, right? So try again. But at the same time, as these fraudsters continue to scale and continue to digitize, what we're seeing is an inability of rule-based engines to be able to keep up with the shifting landscape, with how quickly they're able to pivot and adjust their tactics. As we get so many different cyber groups out there all trying to hit the same sites in a bunch of different ways. And it really does lead to significant impact on legitimate customers. From our perspective, we have taken a very hybrid approach. So we are working with folks like yourself, Alex, and ensure we are pushing hard towards enhancing our AI capabilities, because I definitely do think it is a strong part of a path to the future. But at the same time, layering that with analytics and manual reviews that may not necessarily impact a significant chunk of the order. Keeping those review rates ultra low, brand new customer type centric, but not every brand new customer, right? Kind of A/B style approaches. So similar to how the marketing teams do their A/B testing, and just kind of watching the system and turning the fraud analyst more into a watcher of the machine and less of the actual clicking every single thing that comes through the platform, because that's just the delays that come from that, the staffing issues that come from that, people having to work holidays, the burnout and the turnover, all these things that have historically plagued the fraud industry. In my mind, that's really AI is the way to transcend that and take the analyst up to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, as our name implies, Ensure AI, we strongly believe in that. And yeah, thank you for sharing your perspective on that. I think that's really helpful. And Hemal, I know that you have a similar one, but you have your own kind of color to it. So if you could share that with us, would be great.
Yes, so I agree with what Jared said there. Pretty much there are certain products that we have, especially newer games that we sell. We used to manually review all of them. So and that's not the process that we want to have in the long run. So if there's something that can be there, such as AI, something that can help us reduce that manual review to, let's just say, a few percent, then that would be highly beneficial for us, and it would really help our customers achieve what they want straight away. So that's the key thing for us, is having that extra support there that could really benefit our business and also help the customers. So yeah, so I think AI is very beneficial for us in terms of dealing with this issue.
Yeah, appreciate it, Hemal. So it's nice. I was just about to open it up for Q&A, noting that we have roughly 5-6 minutes to go, and we actually have a first question that came in. I guess this one is for you, Jared, but maybe Hemal, if you want to chime in as well. The question reads: it would be great to understand what is the proportion of manual work needed to review digital good orders versus physical good orders, especially with the physical gift cards. From what you said, Jared, you see much more fraud there, and you spend manual work on it. So.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think there's two pieces that come into play here, right? And this also kind of goes back to, especially in our industry, in the gift card financial sector, manual reviews will never be completely eliminated, partially for legal reasons. When we start looking at physical orders, a lot of times, especially the riskier orders, hit thresholds that not only require fraud reviews, but also compliance reviews. So it is kind of hard to say exactly what the proportion is of manual reviews from physical to digital. But I think if you drop it down to, say, like the $500 order amount, the physicals are far less, by and far rarely reviewed. 90%, 99% of the time we can get those put through with, basic checks, and, if we're feeling comfortable with them, using, various data points and various, various vendors that we have gathering data for us and feeding it into us. And all in all, partially also because it's sitting right next to a digital good, right? It's definitely got something to do with it. We did notice that changed a bit, that the fraud rate on our physical products did change once we launched digital, and then that started drawing the eye of the fraudsters. And with that, the digital side, a lot of times the reviews also don't necessarily focus on payment fraud, because we've also found that payment fraud is something that's become a lot easier to identify. It's really that friendly fraud realm that plagues gift cards, especially, and specifically when it's scams, and victim assisted scams especially have been a huge problem throughout the pandemic and have required the vast majority of our real-time manual analytics. While we've actually been pretty successful in moving most of our back-end manual analytics our payment fraud analytics to the back end post fact.
Yeah. I can relate to all of that. I think it's it's spot on. Hemal, there was an interesting question that just came in on your side. Can you share a little bit about your experience on the fraud patterns shift when large campaigns are introduced, such as FIFA and the like?
Oh yes, that's an issue for us. So when there's a new game out or an A-list game out that's worth around $50-$60, then that's always going to be a target for the fraudsters. So for those kind of products, we always used to have a manual review in place. We had to do that. There wasn't any option for us, because we knew that if we didn't have that, then we could lose our entire stock within a day or so. And once it's gone, it's gone. So yeah, it's a big issue for us doing it manually, pretty much.
Yeah, I can share on my side that you said you can lose your your inventory within a day or so.
Yeah,
we at Zeek we've seen a situation where we lost our inventory of such a product within basically, I would say, 3 minutes. That was insane, and it went through everything we've had in place. Everything we've had in place was devastating.
Yeah.
You guys get good questions. So the next one is: what other sectors of digital goods beyond games and gift cards are at risk of fraud? I'm going to take a first crack of that, and then you guys, if you want to chime in. So I think from everything we've seen, there are other sectors that behave in a very similar manner. Event ticketing, airplane ticketing, online travel agents in general. It seems like this is a very different scenario, but when you come to think about it, the loss of value could be immediate, especially for last minute travel. And these all types of both in the ticketing industry in general and in airlines, etc., experience the same levels of fraud. We've had clients that are selling software that see same patterns, even clients that are selling domain names. in certain, in certain aspects. It was one that is not yet a client, and obviously I'm not disclosing names, but we've had a very interesting discussion now with a client that has been hit very, very hard on click and collect on physical goods. So they sell physical goods, and on their click and collect, where the delivery window is under 3 hours, they see fraud patterns that are very, very similar to what we've seen in digital goods. So I believe that the problem we're discussing here is going to impact a much bigger domain of the industry going forward. Guys, Gerald, Hamal, if you wanna chime in on this, please do. We do have more questions, but please do.
Yeah, so I think I'd break this down, just to break down real quick, I guess I would say, so anything that, if you put yourself in the mind of the fraudsters, right, they want to remain anonymous, they want a product that's liquid, and they want something with value. So if I can anonymously turn a particular product into cash in a relatively short and especially a scalable time frame, it's at risk. And that's, we have an assortment of different gift cards that we offer. And that is an assessment that we do on every single one of them to determine, like Hamal mentioned, right, with risk rating the different products on their site. We do the same thing with our gift card products. The difference in a gift card that resells for a one-to-one value versus one that resells for 50 cents on the dollar is a significant impact on its fraud rate as well. So, just that risk analysis on the various products that you may sell on your site is probably the easiest way to know, just how at risk is it going to be? Is there a third-party marketplace that I can go to move it? And if I can do that, what are the levels of anonymity I can do that through? So is it just sign up and move? Do they do full KYC? Is it, gift cards where there's 20,000 of them out there?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks. And Hamal, do you wanna add on that?
Well, I think you guys have covered most of it there. I deal with games and software, so I've seen the some issues unfortunately in the software side as well. So, but yeah, apart from that, I think you guys have covered the rest of it there.
Excellent. So we have, I think we have time for one more. So I'll just go on with another one. This one reads: does fear of fraud impact your marketing spend in general and on new markets specifically? Is that something you guys have experienced?
Yes. Definitely, yes. Because of this fraud issue, we used to not sell certain products. So we've always been staying away from gift cards and time cards, subscription cards, because we knew that there is a big demand out there for fraudsters to buy these and redeem it straight away. So we've always stayed away from this because we didn't want to go through the manual review for these, but they're low margin products as well for us. So last thing we want is that we want to lose these low margin products and then have a chargeback against us. And that could be a massive loss for us. So this is why it's key for us to have something that can help us with the solving this issue, which is the AI machine learning that can help us speed up the process. And now, because of this new technology, we can actually try and sell gift cards, subscription cards, A-list games, do pre-orders as well. So we're open to that without having much of a fear because of the chargeback guarantee as well. So which is key for us.
Yeah, thanks for that. And Gerard, do you want to chime in on this?
Yeah, I'll make it quick. I think we're bumping up on time. But so the fear of fraud is definitely it kind of bounces back and forth. I've always viewed my job as a fraud professional here at InComm to make sure that the proper expectation is set and that the product teams and the business team know what they're walking into. I've always been blessed with colleagues across the company that understand, or at least they don't understand fraud. They stop and listen long enough to understand fraud and what the impact's going to be and what we need to do to make sure it doesn't get out of control. As with any company that has a well organized and built fraud department, that doesn't happen for no reason, right? You get bit first. And we've definitely been bit a few times over the years, and we've learned from those bites and grown from that as a company and built out what I believe is, one of the best fraud departments in the industry. And that's definitely something that helps us push forward into new territory. And I oftentimes find myself taking one of two sides. Either if the product team's getting a little bit lax and lenient, then I have to kind of step and say, hey guys, look, it's more dangerous than you think. But I oftentimes prefer to be on the side of like, hey, look, don't worry so much. We got this, these couple things for us, and then go conquer the world. So
yeah. It's always the balance, for sure. So guys, I think we ran out of time. We do have a couple more questions, but we'll have to end it here. So, I think that we've had, a very interesting discussion on the pervasiveness, I would say, of fraud for digital goods and the way the new technology that can really help mitigate that. Appreciate your time, everyone on the live panel, and especially Jared and Hemal. Thank you very much for joining us and sharing with the audience your experiences. Thanks a lot, and everybody have a great rest of your day.
yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Bye.